All right, welcome to another conversation with Dr. Robert Flower and myself, Coach Josh Greco. Excited to talk about, or at least kick off our conversation today with the topics of awareness, maybe even some intuition. And, usually what I'd like to do, Dr. Bob, is either define those or make sure that we're playing in the right sandbox together so that we can have this proper conversation. So what can we clear up about these two topics here to make sure that we're on the same page?
Um, of the 13 principles of potential theory, the greatest is awareness, consciousness. That will take us to levels of reality that in some cases, some people never reach, and that we are literally capable of. And what I try to teach, especially business people, all right, and professionals, is awareness, but a specific type of awareness, which we call situational awareness, okay? Recognizing what's going on around you at the time. Now, awareness and synthesis, wholeness, okay, which is one of the key organizational principles, really have a unique connection in the sense of intelligence. In this respect, intelligence in a potential world is defined as one's ability to recognize details and then fit them into an overall picture.
Mhm.
Okay. The greater the amount of details that you can bring into play within a factor or an issue, and the greater your ability to fit them into an overall picture, the closer you come to God,
Mhm.
or better structured, God force. Because if you can imagine potential as being, imagine a black space. And then within this space, there are these itty bitty tiny little molecules that nobody can see, even with a microscope, okay? And they're all these potential molecules. These molecules contain any and every possibility in the universe and in infinity.
Hmm.
All right. So that's our God force. Okay. That's where we come from. That's a part of what we are. Right. So that when somebody says to me, do you think you or I could ever reach our full potential? Well, yeah, when you're gone and you're good enough to expand into the universe of potential, which it will probably never ever happen. Um, First off, because it's impossible. You couldn't have things like situational awareness, really, because there are so many different possibilities that you're living at the same time. Okay. So that's what life is. Life is taking a certain amount of those details and awareness and whole pictures, and making them a reality where we are. Having that picture, it would seem easy to grow because you're here, but your ability to be here is there. It's around us. but we don't go there. Maybe we go from here to there, maybe, or we go from here to there, depending some of these social theories that we have today, which is what they're doing, which makes them easy to define. And I'm not going to condemn them. They condemn themselves because they don't fit potential. They reduce potential. We don't want that. We want to expand potential. Now, something I was focusing on this the other night. I was doing some meditation, Josh, and I was thinking about the Tower of Babel and how in the Tower of Babel, mankind is building this tower to reach the heavens, the gods. And one of the gods says, look upon what they're doing. They're building a tower to reach us, to reach our status, in effect. Let's go down and confuse their language. Now, you got to think about that. This is in the Old Testament, in the beginning of the Old Testament. And when you think about that, and I start thinking about predestination and free will, I think about how our daily lives are so limited by controls that have been placed upon us almost innately, and how much of a struggle that is, how difficult that is. So you have to have empathy to those people who are espousing these different social theories to escape, but they're not escaping, they're acquiescing because they're trying to make things easier in life, but that's not what life is about.
I was going to bring that up earlier when you were talking about expansion or achieving potential, going from here to here. Some people go from here to here, and some things like shrink in. My understanding of that is that, the growth, filling in the greater version or greater picture that helps you understand the full story is uncomfortable. So whenever they achieve a higher level of consciousness or understands a principle, it takes work to get there. It's almost like you want to sit there and enjoy it for a little bit, but the only way to expand beyond that is to get uncomfortable again. And I think people, the people who understand that principle embrace discomfort because it means a higher level of consciousness, and it is rewarding in different ways. But other people really resist that discomfort, and they'll only stay where they are because it is uncomfortable to grow.
That's very accurate, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. Even though some of these people can be quite disturbing to someone of deep consciousness and high awareness, you have to use that level of awareness and whatnot to understand that they're being influenced by something that they don't understand. Okay, so we need to understand. It's sort of like when the Bible says turn the other cheek, right? It's not really, get yourself slapped in the face, become punch drunk. It's more like, forgive them and understand where they're coming from and try and help them. Try and help them become stronger, more apt individuals in a society. Okay. Now I don't believe that our society currently is at that point where they can expand into that consciousness on a wholesale basis. But we don't need that. What we need is a concentrated, lesser sized culture of higher awareness, greater synthesis, and detail that will eventually grow over time.
I think it is. I think it's growing at a quicker pace than ever because it's like people are discovering that it's a more fulfilling approach to life. It's a greater reward than being reactive and living, from the state of, there's a lot going on in the world today, right? It's very easy to get caught up in a lot of that stuff. So the turn your other cheek version of that is to turn inward to like the growth opportunity or the level of understanding, or we've been here before. This is a pattern. How can we break these things to achieve that higher level of consciousness or our greater potential?
Yeah. That's something that, believe it or not, Elon Musk is big on, spending millions of dollars on this whole matrix notion of reality, and breaking the bonds of the matrix, which I have found more and more evidence that is the case. To what degree, I can't say at this point, but to the point that it exists, I have quite a bit of experiences and research that says, oh yeah, this is what's happening, And for a guy of that mind to be venturing into that aspect of reality and spending that kind of money, you know that there's something there, right? And with that, let's for a moment kind of leave that and jump over to intuition, because intuition is a very it's a very unique function. All right. The rap against intuition is that you can't call upon it at will and utilize it. All right. So people say, well, it's not dependable. But then what they do is they turn around and they have a situation, and you'll hear every day, you'll hear somebody say, well, my gut tells me this. And I will tell you that my research into this area is that their gut is emotion, not intuition. In fact, there's a well-known psychologist, Daniel Goleman, who is very big on intuition and who's written a couple of books and papers on intuition. And he makes the mistake of utilizing emotional factors in intuition. And there's a big difference. One is feeling and the other is sensing. Right? And intuition can be a very, very, very powerful functional tool in one's repertoire. Okay? And understanding when something is intuition and when something is emotion. Very, very difficult, Josh. Very difficult to do. I mean,
you got any tips for that? How can we do that?
Well, I'm at this advanced age. I'm getting very good at it. I really, because I concentrate on it, And the one tip is take as much control over your emotional intelligence as you can. The more you can keep your emotions out of hard decision making, the better off you are. Now, what is the value of emotions? Well, it's a generator. It's a motivator. Okay, but it also it also elicits fear and ego and things of that sort. So you have to be careful. But I am finding that the more I take my emotions out, and the better I am at it, out of my decision making or inquiry into an issue, the greater my intuition. And I used to have an exercise which I adapted, and I use it pretty regularly, and it really helps. And what I do is I try and guess the time. You know, um, sometimes I would take a sweep secondhand, you know, and put it down and just meditate, and then just say, okay, how many seconds are
Hmm.
there in this minute left? And sometimes you miss by a mile, but it's one of the things that help you develop your intuition and your psychic ability. The other thing is to be aware of images that come to you out of nowhere.
Hmm.
Okay, because what's happening is you're allowing your subconscious, for lack of a better term, uh, to pop through and show you something. Okay, so that what you want to do is, and it's very hard unless you train yourself long periods of time and you're very gifted to just sit there and meditate on what's going to happen or what's going on. No, look for your awareness, look for your details. I many years ago, when I was first starting with this, I went to a conference in Colorado, all right, in Colorado Springs, and it was psychics and mystics and whatnot, and I was very infatuated with that stuff. And I took a booth because I had these cubes that I was, and I went around. At one point, I went around the conference area, and I approached 26 psychics, and I showed them the cubes, and I said, "This is the structure that I'm using to get answers." 24 of them said, "That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. That's a conscious. Those are conscious factors in what I'm doing. Now that you bring this together and you've organized it, I can see that this is what I'm doing." 24 out of 26. And I didn't solicit their answers. I just showed it to them. And I said, what you're thinking about this?
Is it
And
anything you can share with the cubes? Like what exactly are we talking about?
well, the cubes are, yes, I will get a picture for you the next time. But and they're online. They're on the drbobflower.com.
Okay.
Um, there's 13 cubes. Well, actually, there's 14 cubes because you have the 13 principles, and then you have potential. You know, so you each one of the cubes represents one of the principles, and it has a cultural um, uh, description attached to it. On and off, in and out. Void and valid. And I use it to stimulate people's mind, especially younger people. But even older people, for some reason, seem to enjoy it as much as the younger people do. You just roll them and just all right, give us an interpretation. Well, I don't know. Well, yeah, give us an interpretation. And they end up finding out how accurate their insights are. So it is a great intuitive tool to use. My daughters still use them. I mean, they're in their 40s and they're using these things just to stimulate, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get my grandkids. They're too goddamn smart. But they really work, and they again, it's fostering intuition. I love it. I say to them, um, trust it, even when it fails you. Trust it, because you will see that you pick up things. My wife is she's so good at this. I can't believe it. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's scary. I swear to God, man. I'll give you a quick true story. One day, we were going to have a big Sunday dinner for the whole family. So she made meatballs, a whole big pot of meatballs, right? And she had them on off. They were cooked and off on the stove. So I took one. She was out doing some shopping. She walks through the door. She looks at me, and I'm sitting in the other room. And she looks around and she says, "Who took a meatball?" Now, she didn't look in the pot. She didn't count them. She hardly had her jacket off. Okay. And that's the kind of thing that some people can do. And she's very good at it. Like if I say to her, if I'm working on something and I say, "Geez, I know there's a number here. I know there's a frequency, and I can't get it. I'm not sure, and she'll think about it and she'll say, 64. Does that help? Hello? Hello. So there are people, I mean, I've met some people that are just wildly so good at this. One of my other daughters, my oldest girl, is she's a witch. She's the same thing. She's so good that she's afraid to use it. She doesn't use it because she's afraid that she's going to see something negative and she can't handle it emotionally, you know.
Hmm.
So we're trying to build up her emotional intelligence so that she can overcome that restriction. But uh, talented, talented, really. So, and the other thing, Josh, and I spotted it a little bit with you, a little bit that I know you. When you get into something and you do it on a regular basis, you do counseling, okay? After a while, there are things that become second nature to you. You don't need explanations to understand what's going on or what people are trying to get at or can't reveal themselves. Right? So you sort of attach yourself, and that's situational awareness. And that comes from being involved with something deeply and over a period of time, right? And I've seen that with you, which is an excellent quality. I mean, it's really a benefit to the people that you serve. Um, and as you get further into your career and you get older, it'll get better, and you'll be able to help people on a much higher basis than what most other counselors who are not on that level or not approaching the openness to it. So
And
Yes.
can you describe that a little bit more differently? You said like I attach myself to them. What did you mean by that?
You attach yourself to,
You said something about situational awareness.
yes. Well, you get so good and so deep into uh, recognizing and understanding situations
Gotcha.
that you're able to relate them on a better level, quicker and easier.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you see patterns, these same people or different people go through the same things in their own, like their different ways, but it's the same principles that apply in each situation. So I can extract that and say, time out, is this what's happening here? And then this is what's going on.
Yes, yeah. So I'm a deep, profound fan of people who are able to do that, and I see it. I see it a lot. I see it with people who are, you know, um, you know. I mean, it's like golf. You take somebody who's new at it, and and they duff every chip shot that they approach. You see them after 4 or 5 months of practice, and they're knocking it dead to the stick. You know, well, why? They're becoming that energy,
Yeah.
right? And that's what we have to do. And in many cases, Josh, that's the non-intuitive part of us.
Hmm.
In many cases, that's the comfort part of what we're doing. We're learning about the energy, whatever the issue is, and we're getting comfortable, and we're getting accepting, and we're getting to trust ourselves. Okay, getting to trust the process. So now we're ready to go to the next level.
Hmm.
Okay, so um, that's whereby in other instances there are times when you're new at something and you're adept at it. Well, to me that's an awareness that's built in from something else. Call it past lives, call it genetics, call it whatever you like. So
Yeah.
there's the intuitive part of it, and there's the non-intuitive part of it. The kinetic part of it. And I think that's critical to people that are in business. That they have that situational awareness, and that they understand the whole picture, and that if they wish to expand that whole picture and become something more than they are, that's fine. So defining success, right? You see a businessman, uh, he's made a lot of money, he's got a reputation, he knows his stuff, okay? He's very successful. He's accomplished a certain degree of potential, right? Now the question is he stuck there? What is he doing to expand that?
Hmm.
Where is he going with it? Is he going just materially? Is he going into emotion? Is he going into intuition? Where is he going with this? Even though the world may say that he's successful and he's accomplished, you know, everything that you're going to accomplish, So intuition, I mean, all of the principles are vital, but awareness is what I call the first principle of intelligence. You have to have awareness.
It's almost like the higher you go, the more your understanding of this, the more possible things become. So it's almost like the more you expand, the more opportunity there is out there, but also the more responsible you must be to continue your awareness expansion.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Um, when I first got married, um, I was in real estate for about 7 years at the time, and I had an attorney who was, I guess, I would call him an advisor. You know, he's very wise. He was a real estate attorney, very wise guy. And my wife and I were living. I just got married. We were married about a year, and we were living in a real nice apartment house that one of my clients at the time built, right? Very comfortable, very nice, very convenient, cheap. You know? And he calls me up and he says, Bob, there's a house across the street from me for sale. Now, this is late 60s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I want you to buy it. I said, you want me to buy it? He said, I want to know who my neighbors are. Now, he lived in a beautiful neighborhood. I mean, at the time, this house was like $55,000, which is like $1.5 million today.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm fairly new in real estate. I'm just, I'm doing well, but I said, buy a house? Didn't even enter my mind, Josh. Wasn't on the drawing board. So I said, yeah, you can do it. He says, what are you talking about? He says, get over there and take a look at it. I told my wife, look, he's a good client. He's a teacher and whatnot. So we go over and we take a look and we liked it, and we're trying to figure out the numbers. And as it turned out, we didn't buy that one, but we bought one down the street, which we liked even better. Right? And we said, Jesus, good God, how the hell are we going to buy this thing? We didn't think we had the potential to buy it and own it. But all of a sudden, we end up buying it and affording it. I don't know how, but I sensed that this was the right thing to do. And that somebody had the confidence in me to say, you can do this. That's what we do, Josh.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Stop with the worry, get on with problem solving. You can do this. And I think that that's a key to successful practice in counseling. And it's the key to success to a lot of people. I didn't know if I could buy that house. And my second house, which is where I'm in now, was an even better story because it was 1980. We were in a depression at the time. This is the Carter era, right? You couldn't get a mortgage and you couldn't get a buyer. And this friend of mine, who happens to be an astrologer, called me up and she said, you have your house for sale? I said, yeah, I'm going to put it up for sale next week. She said, you'll have 2 buyers on the same day in 2 weeks. Sure enough, I had 2 buyers for my asking price that week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was buying the house that I'm in now with an 18.5% mortgage because that was all you could get. I was lucky to get that.
That's how it used to be. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my wife, and the house needed work. needed renovation. 5,500 square, I live in a 5,500 square foot monster here on an acre and a half, you know, in a beautiful luxurious area. And my wife said, how are we going to do this, Rob? And I said, I don't know, but I do know that I can do it. I know we can do it.
Yeah.
Right. And sure enough, we took the 18.5% mortgage. We bought it. We got the right group of workers to come in and do work cheaper than what a contractor would do, you know? And we have a cottage on the grounds that was okay, you know. We lived there with our kids, our 3 kids at the time, for like 4 months while they fixed it up. And eventually we had it all fixed up. And almost a year later, mortgage market started to break, and we got another mortgage on it, and we did it. But my point is that I did it. We did it, and it wasn't on the drawing board. Now I have things on the drawing board, and that's, you know, let's go on to the next thing. This is simple, you know. I don't even, you know, but it's working. Yeah, but my wife would say, yeah, but Rob, it's not done yet. Yeah, but it's happening. I know it's happening, and I know how to control it. I know how to oversee it. Don't worry. Let's go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's how you, you know, when I guess I was about 40 at the time, I wanted to buy a vacation home because we were doing a lot of skiing with the kids, and we were shelling out for, you know, rental houses up in Vermont. And I decided that I wasn't going to buy a vacation home because I wanted to invest it in other types of property, longer range returns, you know, like land, right? And I bought this property. Was an acre of land on a corner, a busy corner, and it had a house on it, nice Cape Cod house in a commercial zone, and I paid $30,000 for it with $3,000 down, and I rented it, and I ended up paying $50 or $60 a month out of my pocket, right? 12 years later, I sold it for $425,000. And I knew back when I bought it, I was going to do that. That was going to happen because I wanted it to happen. And I was going to take steps to make it happen. And I sacrificed, believe me. Some of those times I couldn't even afford the $50 a month to pay the excess. My point is that there is so much that you can accomplish, Josh, that we're not even cognizant of.
Well, that's the whole point, right? Is that it's the unknown. And that's what scares people the most, is that we live in a predictable world. We want to know that we have this, if this happens, and if we do this, and this is going to happen. And part of that expansion of the consciousness, or expansion of the awareness, or expansion of the potential or achievement, is being okay with stepping into that unknown place where you've never been before. But we're so adaptive, and we figure things out pretty quickly, even if they seem monumental to us in our current state.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We are products of our own perceptions and beliefs
And limitations.
and in certain cases desires. I mean, I guess I wasn't until I was in my 50s that I understood that when something that I planned on didn't happen, look to what the other possibilities were, rather than give it all up and still push to have it happen the way I thought,
Hmm.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
And even today, I'll plan on something and all of a sudden it just doesn't materialize, or it materializes, way less than what I thought. And I find myself, I'll get upset, and then I'll say, wait a minute, hold on, let's look at this. Let me see what's happening here, what's being told to me, right?
Yeah.
And it
Hmm.
works, right? And I do that with others. I do that with my kids. My kids are very, very active in business. The three of them are all business people, right? And especially my son, he was able to overcome his emotional um, restrictions and foster a greater potential. Okay. To today, he's got 3 companies. He's making more money than I ever imagined, or I ever did, especially at his age.
Hmm.
And he knows how to handle these things, right? And he has a 3-year-old that for the past year and a half has been suffering with leukemia. So that's something that he has to deal with on a daily basis, living in the hospital with the kid, you
Right.
know, during treatments and stuff like that, and starting new business that's bringing him in a good income in addition to his old businesses, which are carrying on. Right. So he's learning the lesson. I mean, at one point I was scared. I mean, Rob, you're taking on too much. He's not did that. He said, you did a good job, Dad. I said, I know how to handle this. Trust me, Dad, and I did, because I could see that he was on the right path. He was on the path of potential. And he was able to handle all 4 functional categories very well,
Mm.
right? And where he would fall, he would seek help. And he knew how to take the advisement. He had situational awareness, Josh. And today it's even better than it ever was. So he's 46, and um, he'll be retired by the time he's 50.
Wow.
You know, I mean, really. So he it to me is he knows what he's doing, and a lot of people that know him and know me understand the this symbiotic relationship we have on this deeper level of awareness. Okay, and my one remaining brother, I laugh because he doesn't he's a successful businessman, but nothing like my son or my girls are. And but he's, well, how do you know that? How do how they what it's not written out, or it's not, yeah, how do you know what they're saying underneath? I can't teach you because you're not open to it. And yet one of his sons is exactly like that, right?
Right.
Lost he lost a business, an advertising business during the COVID, travel advertising, but got wiped out, 450,000 gone,
Wow.
gone. He had 2 houses. One he lived in, one he rented out. Took the rental house, converted it into an Airbnb, and was making big bucks, where he and his family of 2 kids and wife could easily live off of. Right? Now, I've got members of my family who are successful, my outside family, that couldn't do that. This guy could. He had the situational awareness. He had the chutzpah. You know, he had the character. He had the courage. You know, and that courage is a big virtue. Virtue goes a long way in success, and courage is more important. People say love. Well, love is great. You know, you gotta love what you're doing, but courage, when it comes to being a business person or a professional or an investor, you know, takes courage. Takes courage. You're not going to take a lineman and put him in the president's seat at AT&T or Cisco or any of those places. It's not going to happen. They don't, first off, they don't have the background, but they don't have the temperament. They don't understand situational awareness. They can't handle the pressure of going from here to there. Right? They're lucky that they're still holding here. And that's how you judge people, you know, for work, for positions. Where are they? Are they here? Are they here? Or are they trying to get here?
Mm-hmm.
Then you know what you have.
Love it. Courage. That might be a good place to pause for this week, Dr. Bob, because that's a principle that it's going back to what I was mentioning about the unknown, right? It's the being okay with the fear. Or courage isn't the absence of fear, right? It's performing
Yes.
or taking action in the presence of fear.
Of fear, yes, yes,
So
absolutely.
being okay with and almost embracing the unknown for whatever is about to come.
Yep. Hitting that 200-yard shot over water, over a bunker onto the green, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having the courage to pull it back and let her rip. Yep.
Love it.
Okay, I think we did pretty well today.
Yeah. Any final thoughts or anything to sign off with here?
Trust and confidence. You know, we can do it. You could do it. I can do it. And the others that we come in contact, we've got to impress on them that they can do it and that there is a structure. Potential theory is a structure that they could follow. And it's based in nature, not in human architecture. It's based in nature.
Love that.
To me, that's God's word.
Love it. Dr. Bob, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one. I'll see you next week, huh?
Sounds good. Yes. Next Friday.